You know, it's funny because somebody took this Polaroid on day one of sick week. You can see my dad's talking to Tom Bailey there, and well, sometimes I wish we could go back. Alright guys, we got the Volvo home finally, and it's time to just go over the car and try and figure out what happened, and just kind of show you guys the aftermath of a horrible crash like what you guys saw 3 weeks ago. Now, I will say this thing was an absolute pain to get onto the trailer. There wasn't a round wheel on the car, and I pretty much had to use car dollies and, put the thing up on the jack and just hand crank the thing on with a come-along. I was sort of limited with the amount of tools that I could use to load the car, just because I would have to be purchasing every single one of them down in Orlando. So I didn't want to spend $1,000 on just trying to load the car. So I ended up buying some hand come-alongs, and we got the thing up on there. But with that said, the car is home. So now we can start really dissecting this thing and just figure out what our path going forward with other projects are. Obviously, this car is pretty destroyed, and I would like to say one thing: there have been a lot of people that have been sending me for sale pages and all sorts of ads for Volvos very similar to this one. And I just have to say that I don't think I want to do another Volvo. This car had a very special story to it, and frankly, there are a lot of shortcomings with this particular thing, some of which we learned when it wrecked. If I had it to do over again, this car would have been a whole lot more mild. It would have been more of a street cruiser, but these cars are so stinking light that you don't need to make a ton of horsepower, and before you know it, you're going 150 miles per hour. As we'll discuss later, this failure happened at only like 13 to 14 pounds of boost, and that amount of boost on these engines is only, you know, just over 500 horsepower. Despite that, I want to say a huge thanks to everybody that was thinking of us. You know, we've received thousands of positive comments on the previous video. My dad is recovering. He's doing better and better every day. He doesn't need his walker anymore. He's still in a lot of pain and he has a long way to go, but overall he is doing well. He actually got back into the shop the other day and did one of his first little projects, so things are looking good on that front. Without further ado, let's get you guys in here and just show you some of the carnage. Alright guys, so this thing is pretty screwed up. So I'm going to start off with just the front view of the car and just show you what I mean. So after we got this thing home, we started to tear the thing apart. As you can see, the front end is sitting down and away from the car. But you can see right off the bat, the front frame rails, they are tweaked pretty hard to the passenger side. Obviously, the car took a pretty severe front impact. And also, you will see that the firewall is pretty screwed up. When we put that in, it wasn't dented like that. The engine definitely moved around a lot, and I think that is sort of what caused that to happen. But the main thing I want you to look at here is see these two A-pillar bars. Notice how this one is at an angle and this one is more straight up and down. Well, I think we can definitively say that the cage structure of the car did its job. It's actually pretty amazing how much you know, your cage will move around on impact. So moving on, let's get in close to the engine. We've actually already taken the head off of the thing. So let's get that out of the way. And we can see that our failure on the engine, which started the whole thing, was cylinder number 2. Now you can see that it blew a pretty gigantic hole in the side of the block. In fact, you can see the whole way through the block. You know, that's the side that has the large hole, and on the other side you can see it has a couple of smaller holes. You know, obviously that rod was just flinging around, poking holes and stuff. And we do think that it was a rod failure that started this whole mess. If it had a piston failure, you would see that the wrist pin would have, you know, made its way side to side and beat the crap out of the cylinder wall. And since we don't see any evidence of that, and it's generally just, you know, little nicks and scrapes, we think that it did start with the rod. We've run these pistons to a lot more horsepower and torque, and they have held up. In fact, we've run the pistons a lot harder than we've run the rods. You can run aftermarket rods with stock pistons, and we've run them a whole lot harder without them failing. So I think it's more likely that we saw a rod failure than a piston failure. And something that I didn't really elaborate on in the previous video in detail was we have made 824 wheel horsepower with these engines with stock parts. We've run a combo similar to that on Midwest drags and put over probably close to 20 passes on the car during that event, all on 26 pounds of boost. Now this blew up at 13 pounds of boost. So I really, you know, I guess it's hard to say definitively where the failure started, but it's not like we were pushing it harder than we had in the past, or, you know, going into an area that we weren't experienced. Here are the broken off segments of the rod and piston that we were able to find. As you can see, it looks like the piston has nothing but impact damage. None of it got like melty or anything like that I can tell. I mean, this part was actually had me a little bit confused, but this, you can see it's cracked. And yeah, this is where it beat itself up against the head. We still haven't found the wrist pin, but I'm sure it's down in there somewhere. And you can see that there is a chunk of the rod that's missing. That likely was one of the things that made a hole in the side of the block. But this still was moving around on the crankshaft nice. And as you can see, yeah, it's a little bit ugly on the rod bearing, but you know, it doesn't catch the fingernail or anything like that. I mean, honestly, that bearing looks pretty okay. Other than it looks ugly, it really doesn't look that bad, and it doesn't catch my fingernail on any of it. So it's definitely not a bearing failure that started it. And also I would say it's definitely not an oiling related issue. All right, moving on. This side of the car is actually pretty okay. I mean, other than, you know, all the stuff back here. It's amazing that this door looks totally fine. Like, we could probably take this to a flea market and sell it. All of the windows are intact, and it's definitely, you know, God was looking over my dad, because this was the side of the car that he needed to get out of, and it's good that it looks so much better, especially after you see the other side. Be investing more money into the seat in the future. Something that was commented a lot about in the previous video was we need to look into better seats. So we are going to start putting containment seats into stuff, and there's also a product that adds like a crash pad into the seat, and we're probably going to look into something like that as well. So this is where the majority of the trauma on the car happened. You can see that, you know, there's a pretty significant impact on this side of the car. And if you notice this line right here, it pretty much goes the whole way up and over the car. That is where we think that the concrete barrier contacted the car. And because of that, you'll also notice that this bar here, it has buckled. So if we look in under here, this bar used to be straight, but it is now at a pretty hard angle going down into the back there. And something that I just noticed, I noticed that there was a crack on the passenger seat over here, and I thought that was a little odd. And then I noticed that this bar here, this bracket specifically, it was at a pretty hard angle. Now, I didn't see any evidence of this seat getting jostled or anything like that, but then I noticed that this bar doesn't appear to be straight anymore. In fact, the whole chassis looks to be flexed back on this side, while the other side looks to be still straight. So it is clear that, yeah, this side took a significant amount of impact. You can see it in the whole side of the car, and you can see how much that door is laid over. Now, I talked about earlier that it was a blessing that my dad landed straight up and down, and he was able to get out the driver's side door, because at some point the car scraped along the side of the track, and you can see that the drip rail is folded down, and you can't open and close this door anymore. In fact, the whole rocker panel and everything is just kind of screwed up. So, yeah, without a doubt, if he had to come out that side of the car, they probably would have had to get the jaws of life involved, and yeah, it would have just been a whole lot more messy. From here, I want to talk about how we construct our race cars, and you know, I'm very happy with how the car performed in the crash. And so let's just talk about how we maximize the safety for the driver. Now you're going to notice that this is all at a very hard angle, and that's because this tube in here, right down there, you can see that the tube has buckled, and we sort of do that very intentionally. We like the back portion of the car to be not so rigid. Basically, you want that portion of the car in a horrible accident, you want that to absorb as much energy as possible. And you'll see on modern cars that they build in all kinds of crumple zones and basically weak spots in the chassis to try and take up energy. That was our goal with this rear section here, and frankly, it did its job. It just crumpled up, and you know, that probably helped Dad take a whole lot less load. Also, we did the same here in the front. We didn't run the chassis tubes all the way forward like you see on a lot of cars. We only ran them as far forward as the strut towers. Not only is it lighter, but also it allows it to have a place for the car to sort of crumple in the event of an accident. My dad is still alive, so I would say that it worked. You know, obviously we're not perfect in everything that we did, but that is one area where I think we succeeded very well. Next, I want to talk about the tires. So this is the passenger side rear tire, and if we roll the thing, I just want to let you guys inspect the tread. Now, if the car had locked the rear tire up, you should see some sort of flat spot in the tread, and I don't think we see that anywhere on this tread. Moving on to the driver's side tire, you can see a similar thing. Yeah, the thing got burnt up pretty bad from the fire, but I really don't see any flat spots in the thing, and therefore I really don't know if the tire got locked up at any point. That being said, I do see this pretty big gouge in the driver's side tire. That makes me think that debris may have gotten into the tire, and I sort of wonder, you know, is this why the car turned so violently? Did we have a rear tire go down? I mean, that's what my dad thinks that he felt in the car. My dad has driven through a lot of oil in his life, and it normally doesn't turn that violently. Yeah, I'm curious if this is sort of the thing that started it all, and you know, the reason that the car turned so violently. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I mean, as you can see here, the tire or the wheel also took a lot of the impact. You can see the wheel got pretty tore up. And same with the other side. This is just totally screwed up. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of that theory in the comments. From here, as you guys saw in the last video, we had to get my laptop out of the car. And as you guys saw in the other video, it was jammed up in the roof of the car, so we had to get that out so that we could examine the data. Will it come out? Yes, no? Okay.
Might need a hammer.
Yeah.
definition of data retrieval.
Alright, I wonder if that's the floor for the hard drive right there. Made in China. And of course, it's on the other side of the motherboard.
Hold it. I think that did a lot for you.
Same thing. It's my RAM. Gotta get you out. There we go. Yep, there's the hard drive right there. Bloop. Come on, buddy. There's our hard drive. That's intact. Yay. Alright.
Does the hard drive give you the ability to graph the run?
Yep.
Is
that still usable?
I like this idea. Take it back to Best Buy. Sure. I think you ought to save that.
Alright guys, we got the laptop out of the car, and I want to play you a video with the data log playing over the video so that you guys can check it out. So as you can see from that video, the car didn't make a ton of boost, and it looks like all the vitals of the car were, they looked pretty good. You know, AFRs looked great. They were pretty much dead on what I was targeting. The boost didn't go out of control. We weren't getting anywhere close to the maximum on the duty cycle of the injector. We didn't see excessive coolant pressure. It only made like 16 PSI. And you know, frankly, I don't think there is anything in the data that will lead us to an answer on what caused the engine to fail. If I had to guess what made the engine fail, something that I didn't really go over in detail in the last video is we saw a ignition coil failure, quite a few ignition coil failures throughout the duration of the event. And what I didn't tell you guys in the last video is we kept seeing a failure on the same exact cylinder, and that was cylinder number 2. And as we just saw earlier, cylinder number 2 is the one that failed. So I'm definitely strongly you know, suspicious of that. Why did we keep seeing the same failure on the same cylinder? You know, it may have been a coincidence. It may have been related to the wiring going to that particular coil that kept causing the failure. But either way, because of that, we saw tons of misfires on the street where it was injecting nothing but fuel, but not lighting the mixture off into cylinder number 2. And I'm wondering if that caused it to damage the rod, and then running it down the track finished it off. You know, it is what it is. It happened. You know, there's nothing that we can do to change that. So crying about it is not going to change anything. And microanalyzing it until the point that we're all crazy really doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm just ready to move on to the next project. Like I said in the last video, we're not going to run stock rods anymore. So, you know, I don't think we're going to have this type of failure again. So all that being said, like I said a bunch of times in the last video, all I really care about is my dad is okay. This car is totally screwed. There's no salvaging it. And, you know, all we can really do is build something else. So make sure you guys look forward to that. In fact, we're already working on the next project. We haven't given up by any means. We're just gonna be a little more careful in the future. And I hope you guys are ready to follow us on our adventures in the future. So make sure that you like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, buy a t-shirt, or consider becoming a channel member by hitting the join button down below. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.